Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffy Kennedy, also writing as Jennifer K. Lambert, author of epic fantasy romance. I'm here with my first cup of coffee. Delicious. Today is Wednesday. Go figure. May 27th. And yeah, it's a weird day for me to be doing the podcast, but I don't know. I blame Memorial Day. I blame my weird schedule now because I am in this hiatus phase where I'm catching up with business and I don't know, doing life things, visiting with friends. I just had a nice Zoom session with Dorinda Jones and caught up with her. We had not gotten to catch up for a while. And so that was fantastic. That was really great. So, yeah, it was really, it's good. It's good for me to be doing these things. And I appreciate all of you not particularly caring what day I record and put out the podcast. I know I have said this many times before over the years, and it's interesting for me to reconnect with this truth, as the kids say, which is that when I am not writing a book, I have so much energy for other things, and it's like I always miscalculate how much, or maybe underestimate how much writing actually takes out of me energetically. And when I'm not actively drafting a book, or I think revising too, uh, I have energy for other things. And so it's good for me to mix up my schedule and to not feel like I am pushing so hard. So this is my longtime listeners, or at least consistent recent listeners, will know that this is something I've been working on, and it feels so good. And so, related to that, I want to talk about reading books. Today is about reading instead of writing because I've been seeing discourse. I always think of it. My friend Sam Nescosta, whenever she does this, because she's clever, she always does the disc, like the CD disc, and the horse for discourse, which is just amusing because it's like, yeah, it's social media discourse deserves its own name because there's always the people putting up the hot takes for engagement and people taking extreme positions and um, in ways that they would not speak in person, right? So, so yeah, discourse. I'm going to put that in air quotes. Uh, and maybe on the show notes, if I remember, I'll use the emojis for the disc horse. um, so, reading. There is ongoing discourse about how many books people read per year. And the uh, there is, of course, the whole aspect of the Bookstagram and book talk community uh, publishing a lot of stuff for engagement. They want to be influencers. It's a whole ecosystem that survives on its own predator prey cycle, right? So there's the whole concept of reading and reviewing books, making content regarding books for engagement and so forth. But how much of that has to do actually with reading the books is something that seems to be coming up over and over again, because there are people who read very, very fast. And there are people who, well, so here's this latest thing is there was conversation, discourse about um, that people are only reading the dialogue, that they're going through the books and reading only the dialogue. And this kind of dovetails in with the conversation that someone had told me a long time ago, that Kindle Unlimited readers read down the center of the page looking for the good stuff. And that came up again in this discourse, that it wasn't just the dialogue, but that people were coming were maybe that too, but people were reading for the smut scenes, that they would basically skim until they got to the smut scenes and read that, which there's nothing wrong with that, right? You get to read for whatever reasons you want to read. And uh, if you want to just read smut scenes, go on with your bad self. Uh, I certainly have books of erotica that I have read for precisely that reason. Um, and there ends up being feelings about this because there are people saying, well, can you say that you read this book if you only read the dialogue and skipped the description, or if you only read the smut scenes? Um, and it's like, it brings in this level of competition, right? And it's like, well, you know, Becky Bookstagrammer says she read 500 books this year, and I only read so many. And then you end up feeling inadequate, like how come I can't do like Becky Bookstagrammer is? And is Becky actually cheating? Is she just reading dialogue, or just reading the smut scenes, or only reading the AI summary, or whatever? And it's like, yeah, I get it. I understand. But also, it's a question of, what are you trying to do? The influencer sphere is inherently competitive. And if you're trying to be in that space, then I probably can't help you. But why are you reading books? Do you count reading books and so forth? I count my DNFs. I count my books that I start to read and um, don't finish, do not finish, did not finish. Uh, and because I am keeping track of my reading for a different reason. And that's part of what made me want to talk about this today. Was I saw somebody with not many comments and so forth, and I actually replied, and I haven't looked to see if anyone replied to my comment. But she was saying, why are we even keeping track of what we read? What's the reason for this? And I think it's a fair question. It's like, well, are you using this number to, you know, bludgeon other people with and brag, and say, well, I read 500 books and therefore I am the queen of the Bookstagram community, or something like that? Yeah, it's a little obnoxious. But if you're, oh, do you have an opinion? Killian doesn't read books at all. He's kind of lazy that way. Yeah, yeah. Let me see what he wants. But what I commented, and the reason that I keep track of my numbers, is partly as a goal setting process, which I think is true for many readers, that it's that I want to read at least this many books. One of the things that came up in this conversation was somebody saying that they didn't think it was possible to read 30 books in a year. And which surprised me, because there's 52 weeks in a year. If you're reading a book a week, you can easily read 30 books. Now, can you easily read a book in a week? That's a different question. And it reminds me of like the wellness influencing community too, right? Where there's a lot of people, the success people and those obnoxious types, just saying that, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And Michael Uloa, who I really like, he's a fitness coach and does a lot of debunking of the wellness influencers and grifters out there. I enjoy his Instagram a whole lot. I will try to put it in the show notes. Uh, Let me make a note. Okay, I brought up his page, so I'll remember to put it in the show notes. Anyway, one of the things he talks about is anyone who has ever had a toddler. Oops, sorry if I hit the microphone there. I've got a little gnat flying around. Anyone who's ever lived with a toddler knows that you do not have the same 24 hours in a day as everyone else. It's one of those, what do they call that? Like a truism, like it sounds good, because sure, technically we do all have the same 24 hours in a day. Ha ha ha. What we all don't have the same is responsibilities. So there was this oh, I don't know, some sort of entrepreneur idiot geek asshole guy posted his schedule to Threads or one of the social media the other day. Um, and actually, let me just share this with you. Okay, this is what this man posted. He says, oh, and his handle is so stupid. It's James Clear Atomic Habits. It's like, I can't even with this. But he says, my perfect day looks extremely boring. You have to say on that kind of plummy accent. 4:30 a.m., wake up. 4:30 to 5 a.m., reading. 5 to 8 a.m., deep work. What is deep work? We don't know. 8 to 9 a.m., family breakfast. 9 to 11 a.m., lift/run. 8 to 12 p.m., family lunch/walk. 12 to 5 p.m., deep work. 5 to 7 p.m., family dinner/hang. 7 to 8 p.m., sauna/cold/reading. 8 to 8:30 p.m., hang/show. We don't know what he's showing. 8:30 p.m., sleep. And he says, I wouldn't change a thing. Boring is seriously underrated. And it's like, yeah, okay, so how are these meals magically appearing on the table, dude? So many women chimed in on this kind of thing. It's like, what a total princess this guy is, that he's just like showing up for lunch, showing up for breakfast. People were asking, what school are these kids going to? That family breakfast is from 8 to 9. One of my favorite comments was somebody said, now show me your wife's schedule. I was like, yeah. So do we all have the same 24 hours in a day? Yeah. On the surface, yes. But do we all have the same responsibilities in a day? No, absolutely not. So I am really talking about reading here because fitting in reading is something that takes time and quiet, right? It takes not being interrupted by toddlers. It takes not having to do other things at the same time. And this is why so many people love audiobooks, right? Because you can read a book while commuting to work, even if you're the driver. When they frown. I used to have a friend when I was in middle school whose mom would put a book on the steering wheel. She would drive us around with a book on the steering wheel. Um, yeah, Gen X. That's what we went through. Uh, at least an audiobook allows you to still drive a car. Uh, People listen to audiobooks while cooking dinner, doing dishes, doing the household chores that this guy, Mr. Atomic Habits, is clearly not having to do, right? He's not, I didn't see, 7 to 8 p.m. do the dishes or 7 to 7:30 do the dishes. Uh, all of these things that take time. Even if you have someone clean your house, like I am fortunate to do, there's all the little things, the picking stuff up, right? How much of your life are you spending picking up after other people? Can you read a book at the same time? Fantastic. Not everybody likes audiobooks. I don't. Uh, because I don't concentrate on them well. My mind goes elsewhere. It actually starts spinning my own stories, which can be useful, but yeah, not so great for reading other people's stories. So, cycling around too, why do I track how many books I read? Well, I used to be an exhaustive reader. And of course, I grew up pre-internet era. Back in my day, we did not have cable TV. We did not have endless streaming possibilities. We did not have um, all of the wonderful show options that we have now. We did not have social media. So, reading a book was a great, I spent growing up hours upon hours upon hours reading books, which was a huge influence on me. And I started writing in the early 90s. First published work was like 94. And I discovered that particularly when I began writing fiction, that I read much less, because I found that on the feature side, that writing novels uh, occupied that same energy and story space, that wonderful, delicious thread of being immersed in a story. That was the same for me as writing as in reading. And I loved it. But what that meant was is I wasn't reading so much. Now, looking back on it, this also coincided with the burgeoning of the internet and social media. And I started spending more time doing that. Um, Also with, like Netflix, when they would mail us movies, I had a lot more opportunities to see movies that did not necessarily come to the movie theater in our small town. Being able to go back and watch things that I really wanted to see again, that I didn't have to wait for them to cycle up on network TV. All of these really influenced how we spent our leisure time. And all of this time that I used to devote to books now had other things competing for that attention. And that often was easier, right? So much easier to chill to a movie, or especially something that I'd seen before, and do like a whole Buffy rewatch, right? Instead of reading a fantasy doorstopper. That combined with this thing that many, many writers experience: once you start writing, you don't read so much. So, all of this has been a very long 15-minute way of saying that I had to reintroduce reading to my life. And one way that I did that was by creating goals and tracking on my spreadsheet so that I would read more books. And it was, now that I have the habit again, I read much more than I watch anything, and I limit my social media time and so forth. But I aim to read about 100 books a year, 100 to 150 books a year. And I usually hit that. Yes, I do count my DNFs, as I said. Um, I I could stop reading a book at any point. I used to make myself read at least 25%, and I don't do that anymore because life is short, and I'd much rather spend it. I find that if I'm reading something I don't like, that I'm not enjoying, I read it very slowly. And so then it ends up sucking up this time. I'm much more likely to be distracted and go do other things. So if I'm not loving it, if I'm not reading at a good speed, then I bail. So can you read 30 books in a year? I don't know. Can you make the time to do it? And yes, listening to audiobooks totally counts as reading. I don't understand why people want to gatekeep that. But yeah, it's not always easy, especially if you are a deep reader and read more slowly. Also, people read at different speeds, just like people write at different speeds. And so this whole comparisonitis really is a plague upon the community. And that's my what I'm wrapping around to here is, you know, keep track or don't, but don't compare yourself to anyone else, because that is the thief of joy, and reading should be about joy. And on that note, I'm going to go do some business and maybe keep reading a book. Currently reading Lois McMaster Bujold, continuing the full read of her Vorkosigan cycle. I am reading Warrior's Apprentice. So I will talk to you all on Friday. You all take care. Bye bye.